A young law student races against time to make it to her final exam, the one that could define her future. But when she encounters an elderly woman in desperate need, everything changes. A split-second decision sets Miranda on an unexpected path of compassion, sacrifice, and a chance meeting that will alter her life forever. Will she lose everything she's worked for, or will fate reward her selflessness in ways she never imagined? Stay tuned for a story that proves the power of kindness and the unpredictability of destiny. Miranda was a senior law student with just one final exam left. She had always excelled in her studies and had been accepted into a prestigious university on a full scholarship. Her family had made great sacrifices for her education, and she felt it deeply in her heart. Now it was time to make all that effort count. Even though the stress of her final exam weighed on her, Miranda felt another emotion growing inside her: hope. Graduation was just around the corner, and she was excited to take the first step in her career. She dreamed of working at a top law firm and becoming a successful, independent lawyer. But to achieve that dream, she had to face one last hurdle: the exam the next morning. That afternoon, as she left the library, she took a deep breath. Just one more step, she thought. Her plan was flawless. Head back to her dorm, take a hot shower, have a light dinner, review her notes one last time, and go to bed early. She would wake up completely prepared for the exam. With these thoughts in mind, she quickly walked to the bus stop, boarded the bus, and headed to her dorm. The next morning, everything went as planned. When her alarm went off at 6 a.m., Miranda got up right away and got ready. She walked quickly to the bus stop. As the bus started moving, Miranda pulled out her notes from her bag and got lost in reviewing the key points one last time. But her eyes were unintentionally drawn to an elderly woman sitting across from her. The woman's appearance completely distracted Miranda. She was very old, and the thin clothes she was wearing didn't seem warm enough for the cold weather. Her eyes slowly opened and closed, and her face was pale. A sense of worry crept over Miranda. At one stop, the bus came to a halt. The elderly woman struggled to get up and tried to get off the bus. As Miranda watched her through the window, her breath caught in her throat at what she saw. The woman collapsed to the ground the moment she stepped onto the sidewalk. Miranda's instincts kicked in. She shoved her notes aside and rushed off the bus. She ran to the woman's side. "Ma'am, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. The woman slowly opened her eyes, but she was only semi-conscious. Miranda gently supported her by the shoulders but had no idea what to do. "Call an ambulance," she shouted, but the street was empty in the early morning hours. Only a few cars passed silently by. Frantically, she reached into her pockets for her phone but found her pockets empty. A wave of panic washed over her. "Oh no," she whispered to herself. Her phone was in her bag, but her bag was still on the bus. And the bus was already out of sight. For a moment, Miranda froze. Her mind raced and her heart pounded. Taking a deep breath, she tried to calm herself. "Okay, Miranda, stay calm. You'll figure this out," she repeated to herself. She turned to the woman and gently said, "I won't leave you, I promise." If this story is touching your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. While checking on the woman, she scanned the street for a solution. She saw a car passing by and mustered all her courage to step into the road, waving her hand to flag it down. Thankfully, the car slowed and pulled over. The driver rolled down the window and asked, "Is something wrong?" Miranda, nearly out of breath, said, "This woman needs help. She collapsed and isn't fully conscious. Please, can you take us to the nearest hospital?" The driver immediately grasped the seriousness of the situation and got out of the car. Together, they carefully helped the elderly woman into the back seat. Miranda climbed into the front seat, gently holding the woman's head steady. "We're going to the nearest hospital," the driver said, taking off quickly. Miranda glanced back at the woman. Her face was still pale and her breathing was labored. Whispering to herself, she said, "It's going to be okay. Stay calm, Miranda." But the fear inside her didn't fade. All she could think about was the elderly woman. Then she remembered her bag, her phone, her ID, and most importantly, her exam that morning. A heavy weight settled in her chest. My final exam. No, that doesn't matter now, she told herself. At that moment, she realized nothing else mattered except the woman's condition. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she tried to pull herself together. "Hold on, please hold on," she whispered to the woman. By then, the car had sped into the hospital's emergency entrance. As soon as the staff came out, Miranda and the driver called for help. The elderly woman was swiftly placed on a stretcher, and amidst all the chaos, Miranda stood in a corner taking a deep breath. Miranda and the man who had brought them to the hospital waited to hear about the woman's condition. Miranda glanced at her watch. There were only 5 minutes left until her exam. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "It's okay. I can take summer school and get another chance." But the disappointment in her heart wouldn't go away. In that moment she felt the need to talk to her mom. Turning to the man beside her, she asked, "Can I use your phone?" Her voice was slightly shaky. The man kindly replied, "Of course, here you go," handing her his phone. Miranda dialed her home number, which she knew by heart. After a few rings, her mom answered. "Hi, Mom," Miranda said, her voice trembling and soft. Her mom immediately asked in a concerned tone, "Miranda, is everything okay? Aren't you supposed to be at your exam?" Miranda swallowed hard and said, "I'm sorry, Mom. I missed the exam. I'll have to take summer school to get another chance." Her mom let out a sigh and gently asked, "Oh, Miranda, what happened? Why did this happen?" Miranda took a deep breath and quickly explained everything: the elderly woman collapsing on the street, how she stopped a car for help, and how they brought her to the hospital. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she spoke. The man beside her, though unintentionally, overheard the conversation. Her mom tried to comfort her. "Miranda, you did the right thing," she said. "Nothing is more important than a human life. So what if your education takes a few extra months? Everything can be fixed." Miranda nodded, but her mind was still preoccupied with the financial burden this situation might cause. She hung up the phone, took a deep breath, and handed it back to the man. Just then the doctor approached them. "Hello," he said warmly. Miranda immediately asked, her voice full of concern, "Is she okay?" The doctor smiled slightly and said, "Yes, she'll be fine. She's very hungry and has been exposed to the cold for too long. We'll keep her here for a while." Miranda sighed in relief and smiled, glad to know the woman was safe now. The man beside her finally took the opportunity to introduce himself. "I didn't get a chance earlier. My name is Aiden," he said, extending his hand. Miranda, slightly embarrassed, replied, "Oh yes, I'm Miranda." Aiden continued, "I couldn't help overhearing your conversation. If you don't mind me asking, which school do you go to? What's your major? Maybe I can help." Miranda looked at him in surprise. "What do you mean?" she asked. Aiden smiled lightly and said, "My company supports nearly every law school in the city," and added, "Also, I happen to own Carter Frost Law Firm." Miranda's eyes widened. She couldn't believe she was sitting next to the owner of the law firm she'd always dreamed of working for. She stammered out the name of her school, still in shock. Aiden immediately took out his phone and contacted the school administration. He explained the situation in detail, emphasizing that no successful student should be penalized for saving a life. The school administration responded with understanding and agreed to arrange a special exam for Miranda. The next day she would take an exam of the same difficulty, though slightly different from her peers. If she passed, she would successfully graduate. Miranda looked at Aiden with tears in her eyes. "I don't even know what to say." "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with gratitude. Aiden smiled warmly and said, "It's nothing, Miranda. This world needs more brave and kind-hearted people like you. You deserve this and more." Miranda was in shock. How could such a coincidence be possible? Aiden, as if he could read her mind, gave a gentle smile and said, "I don't believe in coincidences, Miranda. Everything in life is a test. When you bravely listened to your conscience and chose to help that elderly woman, I happened to take a route to work that I never usually use." Miranda's eyes widened as she stared at him. "I can't believe everything that's happened," she murmured. Aiden said, "Would you like to call your mom?" No need for her to keep worrying, and handed her his phone. Miranda called her mom and quickly explained everything that had happened. Her mom, her voice trembling with emotion, said, "I'm so proud of you, Miranda. No act of kindness goes unnoticed. This is how we raised you." When she hung up and handed the phone back to Aiden, Miranda's eyes were shining with emotion. Aiden paused for a moment and looked at her. "By the way, what happened to your phone?" he asked. Miranda suddenly remembered. "Oh no, it's on the bus. My wallet, my phone, my school ID. Everything's gone with the bus," she exclaimed, panicking. "And the exam." Aiden reassured her to stay calm. "We'll sort it all out. What does your bag look like? Do you remember the bus number?" he asked. After a few phone calls, Aiden said, "Your belongings have been found. They're in the lost and found at the central bus depot." Miranda was stunned. Aiden's network and influence were astonishing. "Let's go get them right away," Aiden said. Miranda agreed and they went to the depot to retrieve her bag. She couldn't stop thanking him. Aiden simply replied each time, "It's no trouble at all." As Aiden said goodbye, he handed her his business card. "Let me know how your exam turns out, okay?" he said. Miranda smiled and nodded, "Of course." She returned to her dorm and spent the evening resting, recovering from the exhausting day. The next day, Miranda took her exam and aced it. She still couldn't believe everything that had happened. That evening, she spoke with her mom, who said, "I told your dad about everything. We both think you should give that gentleman a thank you gift." Miranda immediately arranged for a beautiful gift basket and called Aiden to ask if she could visit him. Aiden happily agreed. Walking into her dream law firm with the gift basket in hand, Miranda felt her heart pounding in her chest. Aiden greeted her warmly and thanked her for her kindness. "You earned this, Miranda," he added. Miranda shared that her exam had gone very well. Aiden smiled and said, "Miranda, you're an incredible person. Someone like you could contribute greatly to this firm. I'd love for you to intern here and if all goes well, start working with us after graduation." Miranda's eyes filled with tears. This was a dream come true for her. After graduation, she began her career at her dream firm, working hard and making a name for herself. All of it had come from extending a helping hand to someone in need. God had returned her kindness tenfold. As always, Miranda was grateful. Years later, Miranda's dreams had not only come true but had exceeded her wildest expectations. With hard work and her unshakable moral compass, she had become one of the top legal consultants at Carter Frost, earning the respect of her peers and clients alike. The young woman who once worried about affording her education was now mentoring other aspiring lawyers, paying forward the kindness and opportunities she had received. Every so often, Miranda would look back on that fateful day when she chose compassion over her own fears. It was a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness could change a life, sometimes even your own. If Miranda's heartfelt journey inspired you, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for future stories.